on GoSuffolkRams.com. From Boston, Massachusetts, welcome to Suffolk Sounds, the official show for Suffolk University Athletics.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome back into another episode of Suffolk Sounds. Thanks for joining me once again. As always, I'm your host, Nick Pernick, and today's episode comes with a great interview as women's tennis captain Kendall Smith joins me to talk a little bit about her unique experience here at Suffolk University, being part of an ROTC program, but also her unique upbringing as well, and, coming here overseas, but in a unique way. So stick around to find out what I mean by that if you don't know Kendall already. More on that coming up in just a few minutes. But it was an action-packed week for spring sports as baseball, softball, men's and women's golf, men's and women's track and field all competed in conference action. You name it for sports, we had it this weekend. Additionally, there was some exhibition action for some of our fall teams, that being men's and women's soccer, as well as volleyball. It was great to have our Rams in action, a blast to watch it at home. Also good to have everyone on the road as well. So if you're missing out on any of this action, you shouldn't be. We have you covered at Go Suffolk Rams on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. We have it for social media as well. So make sure you're following us and you won't miss any updates on our sports as well as our awards that we're handing out. That being this week, we're handing out another Ram of the Week award. And this week's nominees are Michael Balestra of men's track and field, baseball's EJ Birch, softball's Ashley Zula, and women's track and field's Ali Rodriguez. You can head over to Go Suffolk Rams on Twitter before noontime on every Monday to cast your vote. And like I said, to make sure you're staying up to date on all of this, you can bookmark our website as well. That's GoSuffolkRams.com. Now back to today's interview. Kendall Smith has grown up in a unique experience, like I mentioned before. It's unlike most traditional college athletes. Due to Kendall's father's status in the U.S. Army growing up, she spent her youth and teenage years in Stuttgart, Germany, where she played tennis at a very high level over there in Europe. Today, she captains the Blue and Gold squad at Suffolk University, while also participating as an Army ROTC cadet with the Liberty Battalion at Northeastern University. And on top of that is her studies, her academic program, which we get into as well. Throughout our chat, Kendall dives into her playing career abroad and at Suffolk, as well as her knowledge gained in ROTC and her love for the Suffolk and Boston community. That interview starts right now. Kendall, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And it's great to have you on. It's great to, look at your journey here to Suffolk University. You have a huge military background with your family. You grew up in Stuttgart, Germany from 2004 to 2018 on U.S. military bases as your dad was in the Army. And you're currently in the Army ROTC as a cadet at Northeastern. But talk to me about, coming to Suffolk University, what it was like the transition from Germany to downtown Boston and why you chose Suffolk.
Yeah, no problem. So every summer when we were in Germany, we'd come to New England. So when I was there, I considered New England home. My mom's from Mass and my dad's from Maine. So they kind of wanted me to apply only in this area. Actually, I'm pretty sure they said only in New England. So I definitely wanted a big switch. Germany, we were outside the city, and anytime we'd fly in and out of Boston, I just definitely wanted to get to know it more. And I thought Suffolk was like the perfect spot right downtown. So it fit the description pretty well.
Yeah. And there's a huge background in your family. It's not just you and your dad, that you have a whole family as well that's involved in the military. So talk to me a little bit about them.
Yeah, I've got a couple relatives in the Navy. My uncle was for a couple of years, and then his two sons. My brother's in the Air Force, and I had a grandpa in the Air Force as well, and then a great grandpa in the Army. So kind of following a tradition, but it was not a forced kind of thing. I definitely looked up to them in it, and it was always an interest growing up. So very happy to follow in some footsteps there.
Yeah, now you're continuing, like I said, at Northeastern in the Liberty Battalion. You started your second semester freshman year over there. What's that been like, kind of balancing ROTC and balancing your tennis, because you are a junior tennis captain with the team here at Suffolk. So what's that been like to balance the two of those out?
It was a little tough at the beginning, joining second semester freshman year. Luckily, I wasn't in season, so that was a good way to start off. I could handle that. So my first season with ROTC, I knew everything pretty well and finally was up to speed with everything in ROTC. And then physically it finally matched up, and it was pretty tough. We had 3 games a week on average during the season, and then I'd be at PT almost 4 mornings a week at ROTC. So it was a lot, but I do miss it, and I can't believe I'm admitting that now. But it was one of like the more funner times before COVID for sure.
And you come to Suffolk with a lot of tennis history over in Germany. You've had some success over there, as you were the Dodds European Championship winner in 2015, and then you were named to the first team All Europe 2015 and second team 2016. So some great success over there, and it makes perfect sense why you'd be joining the tennis team here. What's it been like for you here competing in both doubles and singles matches for Coach Cunahan over the last 3 years?
I've loved it. I think it was an interesting transition to play over there as opposed to here. Just little things were new to me, but I've definitely loved doubles, and I think Coach Steve definitely knew that. And so I've got a lot of experience with that, and that was with winning that championship there. And so I definitely put a lot of time into doubles. And so when I got here and really had to manage both doubles and singles, that was a little tough, but a lot of the seniors my freshman year made that more than easy. And my doubles partner my freshman year was the senior co-captain, so she definitely just paved the way for how to handle all of it. So
yeah, it's great to have someone to show you the ropes. But now you're partnered with your co-captain Ilda Ascic, and she's your doubles partner. You guys are up in the top spot for doubles. What's that been like? You've been a captain now since your sophomore year, kind of a lot of responsibility, but what's it been like to play with her and lead this team as co-captains?
It was really great because we didn't play together at all freshman year. We were really great friends. We lived in the same dorm and everything like that. So we had a really good connection before being paired up together. And then being co-captains both as sophomores, that was a little challenging, but the captains we had freshman year, like I said, were fantastic. And we even bothered them after they graduated, just asking questions about like the vans and uniforms and everything like that. So they definitely helped out.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about team camaraderie, it doesn't really just end with when they graduate. It kind of, I feel like a lot of other student athletes have been telling me this is the way it goes at Suffolk, is that you can kind of rely on your teammates to be lifelong teammates. So that's nice to hear that they're still able to pitch in and help out and answer some questions after they've graduated. I'm sure that you and Ilda will do the same after you guys graduate as well. Looking at singles now instead of doubles, you were playing in the 4th spot your first year for singles, and then you made the jump up to 2nd. It's a big jump, a tough challenge to face. What are you looking forward to now going into another season with more experience under your belt in that singles spot?
I definitely know what to expect more. I think I wasn't able to watch a lot of the higher up matches like while I was playing at number 4, so I was a little nervous. And then getting to know just kind of the expectations and how you play a little differently. And it's going to be interesting because we haven't been in the new conference yet. So a little nervous about that. But I think after definitely handling a lot of new matches that year should help me out then.
Now looking at it here, you balance tennis, you balance ROTC. What kind of training do you kind of take from ROTC to put into tennis and vice versa? And what kind of discipline have you learned from ROTC?
I definitely just say ROTC, you're balancing school as well. So when you throw in tennis, that's also another consideration. And half of ROTC is keeping up your physical fitness. That's essentially like half of your job while you're a cadet is just making sure you're fit. So that definitely helped with tennis. I remember coming in that season after ROTC, I could hit a lot harder. I could keep up a lot faster. And then on the other side of it, I was always kind of a time freak. So it's that corny saying, if you're on time, you're late. So a lot of the girls do know that I like you there a lot early. And so I definitely have brought that into the team. I don't know if everybody's a fan, but that's definitely something that carried over.
Every leader has their own touch on the team that they like to put in. And hey, being on time is never a bad thing.
Yeah, right.
I'm with you on that. And I don't want to forget the athletic trainers here at Suffolk that you've worked well with, especially Rick Cox. We talked a little bit off the air about your training with him and getting ready for physical fitness tests. What can you talk about with your training with Rick, and what did he do to help you out in terms of ROTC as well as treatment for tennis?
Well, yeah. I remember going to Rick after I think my second week of ROTC, just completely feeling like my whole body was like broken. And I was like, I know this isn't tennis related, but is there any chance you could help me out? And he was more than helpful. And then I definitely took him up on that opportunity and bothered him for the rest of the semester. And then he got to know like exactly what I was doing. And I go to him all the time and talk about ROTC. And he's a really big fan of a lot of like famous military members that have really come a long way. So we bonded over that, and he's got me into a couple of good podcasts, and we usually end up talking for a good half hour just about random military stuff, which is really cool because I don't have anybody around Suffolk that knows a lot about like that kind of thing, beside like outside of ROTC. So it was nice to have that connection there. And then in terms of just physical fitness, like I came to him with some concerns, just trying to keep up physically because I wasn't a big gym person in high school. I really just played sports and that was it. So it was a little tough to do, and he gave me more than enough advice. And actually this past Monday, I passed the new Army fitness test, and I saw him on Tuesday, and he was like the first person I told. And I hadn't seen him in so long too. So that was really great. And he was pretty happy. So, and then of course, Nick and Aaron too, they know all about it as well, because it's something I don't really shut up about because it's a lot of things I like, a lot of time I spend over at Northeastern. So they've definitely heard a lot about it.
Well, congratulations on passing the test.
No, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. And, just a few episodes ago, I was talking to Nick. I had him on the show to talk about, athletic training at Suffolk and athletic training as a whole. And he kind of made a point to say that athletic training isn't just about physical fitness. It isn't just about treatment on muscles and, getting people fit. It's about, the relationships along the way and making sure that you're there for each other mentally as well. And so I'm sure it's great to have Rick to bounce ideas off of and just to talk to about what you're passionate about.
Oh yeah, it was a super big help. And that was definitely one of the things that I missed, like this last fall, not being in season and not being able to go to Ridgeway anytime I wanted to go bug them. So I did miss out on that.
So I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit more about your major here. You're a politics, philosophy, and economics major here at Suffolk, and you've had great athletic success in balancing everything, and you've balanced a lot. So you've been balancing everything pretty well because you've been named to the GNAC All Academic Team last year. You've had a 4.0 last spring. You're part of the 80 honor roll almost every semester, it seems. So you've been doing great. What can you tell me a little bit about that major and for prospective students, what they might, if they're thinking about, politics or economics or something like that, what they'd be getting into in this major?
Honestly, I looked into it because I really couldn't decide what I wanted to do. With ROTC, it doesn't exactly matter what your major is, and it doesn't always line up with your job. So I kind of took that as like, all right, I can actually study what I want to. And then I couldn't really decide. So the fact that there are basically 3 majors bundled into one was perfect. So I've always loved the philosophy side, but I never really had any high school classes with that. And then the politics, of course, has always been interesting. And then the econ part was definitely new, maybe the only thing I struggled with. But it's a really great overall major. I feel like by your sophomore year, you can really see the classes actually tie into each other. And especially junior year, I noticed everything carries over with each of the classes. And I think they do design it that way. And it's a great pre-law major, which is also one of the appeals it had. I'm not thinking about it anymore, but that is something Suffolk does like to sell as a good pre-law major.
Yeah. And with that program, would there be any opportunities to go abroad, or have you thought about going abroad at all? I know you have a lot on your plate.
I thought about going abroad, but after living in Germany basically my whole life, this is kind of my abroad. And with ROTC, I didn't think it was a good idea to just kind of leave halfway through after working so hard in the program and then coming back and being a little far behind again. So I wasn't upset about it, but I was able to go on the Global Gateway freshman year, which is when they take a couple of freshmen to the Madrid campus for spring break, which a lot of kids I ended up going back for studying abroad, but I was glad I at least got to see the campus for a week at least.
So we were talking a little bit before we got on the recording here for the podcast, and we were talking a little bit about Maine. You said your dad's from York, Maine, and that sparked my interest because I go up there every summer. York, Maine is my vacation spot from the suburbs of Boston. A lot of people I know go up to Southern Maine. It's great. I love going up to short sands, long sands. Where do you guys, what do you do up there when you're there in your summers up at York? Because I know that you mentioned that you go there in the summers.
Yeah, that's actually where we spent the whole summer. When we fly from Germany, we'd literally fly into Logan, go to York, and not leave the entire summer. And we're right off Long Sand, so like one of the bigger beaches there. And all me and my siblings just work there in the summer, just some like easy jobs, like restaurants and everything. So that was like the little taste of the U.S. that I had. So when I did move to Boston, I guess I really could say I never really lived in the U.S. I spent the summers there, but that was really the only perspective I have of what the US was like. So it was an interesting one. But
yeah, I love York though. It's if you're gonna go anywhere, it's like stereotypical America though. York is a good spot, like the downtown
yeah.
area and all the beaches and everything. It's a good spot to be. I'd say, especially for your summers.
Yeah, I do like it. I'm probably going back this weekend, so that's actually sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I would like to go up there for the rest of my summers if my mom and dad ever buy this vacation house. If you're listening to that. But no, it's great. I love that we have that York connection. It's a great place to be. So let's get back here to Suffolk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about your favorite places to play. First of all, I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite surface to play on? Because there's a lot of different surfaces that come with tennis. You could play clay, regular court, or on grass. So talk to me about what you like to play on and what you prefer.
Actually, it's one that I've noticed. I haven't seen a single court of it in the US. There's actually carpet. And that's what I grew up, I learned to play tennis on in Germany. And there's a couple different kinds of carpet. And I've been noticing not a lot of people know that, but that's actually one of my favorites. It's kind of like the same effect that clay has. Mm-hmm. So if you don't want a clay court indoors, because they are hard to keep up, the place I actually work at right now, it's indoor clay and they're pretty messy, but yeah, carpet. If you look it up, there's a couple different kinds and it's interesting, but I haven't been able to play in probably 3 years. So I've grown to like clay again then.
Yeah, no, I'd never heard of carpet before. That's crazy. What's the texture like? Like, is it easy to bounce around on? Is it better on the knees?
The first one I ever played on was a little rough. It felt more like almost like a Velcro, not as intense, but like that kind of like sharp. And then the other kind that was in the different place I lived in Germany, it was more like a soft carpet, but just like super short. So honestly, any carpet in a building, it's kind of like that, but a little softer. Wow. I guess it is more gentle, but you can't slide as much, but it really has to do with like the absorption of the ball and everything like that. So it's definitely a preference.
I can't imagine like getting a rug burn from tennis. Like that's just
it wasn't fun as a kid. Yeah. When you play that young, everybody's falling and it's not the best memories, but it's pretty funny.
So not everyone you play up here in Boston or around when you were playing in the GNAC and now the CCC has clay as many people. But where do you like to play when you see, or who do you like to play against when you see an opponent on the schedule? Who is that? And tell me a little bit about a little rivalry maybe.
I know my freshman year coming in, there was a big rivalry with JWU, and I didn't really understand it. And I think it carried over though. Which was funny because basically my team sophomore year was completely different from like 2 years ago. So I didn't really get it, but they're a pretty great team. And so it's always a lot of fun to be paired up with them.
Okay. Other than playing tennis, what are some your favorite things to do in the city of Boston? What are some favorite places to go, places to eat, coffee shop? Give me something that people might not even know about.
Well, lately, I've been going out to Revere Beach a lot. I think when the weather got nicer, I was like, I've never been out there. And so I've been going like at least once a week. It's just kind of nice to get out there and get out of the city. And then it reminds me a lot of York, like that longer beach type, area. And so when I start to get a little homesick for York, I tend to go over there. And, I mean, it's a kind of a hike from where I am right now. It takes about like an hour, like on the tee, but, I think it's worth it.
You probably go for the beach. I go for the Kelly's roast beef sandwiches though.
You know what? I've been walking by there and I'm like, I feel like I have to go in. Okay, I'll try that next time.
It's famous. It's so good. Yeah, Kelly's is so good.
Okay, definitely check that out then.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else you like to do?
Definitely. Well, with running, I think with ROTC, like running's a big part of like the physical part of everything. So just trying to find new routes. So around the Esplanade's a great one. I think you're nuts if you don't ever go out over there and check it out. So that's a good loop. And
it's so gorgeous. It's so gorgeous along the river. I've been driving in sometimes on Sturo or walking that way, and it's just so nice to look over to Cambridge side, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah, and it's like an easy like 4 mile loop like around like those bridges. So like it's a quick, and like being at Suffolk when I lived in the dorms, just walk right over. And now when I live over by right now by Northeastern, it's just like a little short walk to the edge. So
Any funny stories you can tell me about your time with the tennis program at Suffolk?
I don't think anything big. I think the usual Suffolk stereotype about the vans, because that was a big responsibility. I think becoming a captain is having to drive them. And we had only 6 girls, including myself, in the fall. So I think I took the minivan keys, I think, every day. Like I would race anybody there to grab them because the giant white vans would freak me out. And we didn't need that much space. So it's like, all right, we'll take the minivan. And I actually I didn't do a lot of driving here before I moved to Suffolk, especially in Boston. I think when I told my mom that I was driving the vans, she kind of freaked out a little bit. But one of the first days of preseason, we played at Belmont Hill last fall. And on the way in, there were like turkeys, like actually crossing the road. And people had to get out of their cars to like wave the turkeys away. And that actually became like a normal thing on the way to practice, to be stopped by turkeys. And our coach never believed us, like, why would we be so late all the time? So I finally got a video of it. But that was not something I expected to see. I also thought that was weird about Mass, that there are just turkeys around.
Yeah. It's just totally normal in the middle of Belmont, like Mass, like where there's not that much woods. Like it's not, It's more city. Yeah. They moved into the city. I think that all the wild animals got pushed in.
They must have. I was so weirded out.
That's so funny. Well, thank you so much, Kendall, for joining me on this episode. It was great to get to know a little bit more about the tennis program and about your background as well. It's very interesting. So thank you so much again for joining me.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Once again, I just want to say thank you to Kendall Smith for joining me on today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview just as much as I did interviewing Kendall. Ram Nation, if you did like what you heard from today's episode, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Go Suffolk Rams, and make sure to subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform it is that you choose to listen to or watch us on. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll see you soon, Ram Nation.
This has been Suffolk Sounds. Don't forget to subscribe, like, rate, and review however you listen to your podcast.